Hey there, and welcome to a new episode of Storytime. So, this time it's going to be a short episode, and it's going to be an episode from the subseries Neighbors from Hell. I haven't done one of those in a while, and I know I said a lot of times that it's going to be a short episode, and every time I tend to speak for 10 minutes, and it's going to be 2 episodes. But now, this time it's really going to be a short episode, and yeah, we are talking about this girl. I can't even. She's like a Slendergirl. Oh my god, she was so weird. But yeah, let's start with this. So when my parents got, they separated before they could get a divorce. You have to be separated for 1 year in Germany before you can get a divorce. So yeah, they split up, and my mother, me, and my little brother, we moved to this very, very, very small village. It was so freaking small, and it was, surrounded by mountains. So you never had cell phone reception. It was just. But yeah, I was around 16-ish, 17-ish in that area. Yeah, we moved there and we had our little. It was a house. It was a full house, but it was very cheap and very old. So we had to do a lot of stuff. Like they had this. Is it called an oven? Where it just put wood in it and it burns. It was horrible, but yeah, whatever. So it's not about the house. So we moved in there, and I think it was the second week we lived there that I noticed this girl. She was standing in front of our house, on the other side of the road. She was standing there and she had just this creepy look. You know how Kristen Stewart always looks? She had always this, she has this look that basically doesn't say anything. Now imagine that with a evil twist, like a evil genius bitch, I have no idea, monster kind of thing that wants to rip your heart out and eat your lungs or something like that. She had this constantly the same facial expression without any kind of change, and it was of pure evil. She always looked like, as I said, she looked always like she wanted to kill you. It was so evil that I don't know. And her eyes were, she had black makeup around her eyes, and I think her lips were black too. I'm not quite sure about that, but her eyes were painted black. I remember that because, her eyes were so highlighted with that, and they were black, and she always looked evil. And she was just standing there, maybe for 1 or 2 hours. She would just stand there and stare off into space. That was creepy as hell. But the thing was, on the other side of the road where she was standing, there was also a bus stop. So, of course, the whole day, buses would stop there, would wait for her, but she wouldn't get in. That was weird. And every time I had to leave this little village, I had to take the bus. Because there was only this one bus station there. The other one was, I don't know, 2 kilometers away. So there was no way of me walking there. There was a way, but, children are lazy, teenagers are lazy. So, yeah. I was standing there, and yeah, every morning I was standing there, and she would suddenly appear behind me, like Slenderman, like Slendergirl. She would suddenly appear behind me. I wouldn't, I never saw her coming out to that place. She would always just be there. Bam! She was standing there, and she was giving me this really, really super creepy look and would stare at me for the whole time that I was standing there. And once I entered the bus, she would sit, kind of close to me and stare at me. She would go on staring at me like the girl from The Ring. I have no idea. It was so freaking creepy. That girl gave me the chills, I can play games like Slenderman and, I'm feeling a little goosebumps, but that's it. But that girl, holy shit, there was a cold shower, going down my back all the time. It was like a chill in my spine. It was so horrible. It was so creepy. I have no idea. I can't even explain how creeped out I was by that girl. And as I said, whenever I stood there, it would be like I turn around and bam, she's there. Suddenly, bam, suddenly Slender Girl. And oh my god. And as I said, she would sometimes just stand there on some weird times of the day. She would just stand there for an hour and stare off into space. How are you supposed to live next to a girl like that? It was I'm getting, chills right now as I'm talking about it, just because it was so creepy. I was so glad when we moved out of that apartment and we moved back to the house where, my parents, the house that they bought or built, whatever. We moved back there, but my father had moved out by the time, so yeah. we moved back there, and I was so glad when we were out of that apartment and I was away from that girl. But the funny thing was, she was actually transferred to the school I was in, I think 1 or 2 months later. So yeah, I saw creepy girl every single freaking day. And guess what she would do? She would stand on the school ground, on the schoolyard, or however you call it, and she would stare at me with those creepy black eyes of pure darkness and evil. And I was so freaking creeped out. And the thing was, I had a girlfriend at that time. She was at school with me. And, of course, she would hate that girl. Just because of the fact that she was staring at me, it would be like, she's in love with me or something. And the funny thing was, and that's kind of the wrap up of this story, I actually found out later that this girl was actually in love with me. She fell in love with me, she had a crush on me. And that was her way of getting me to notice her, staring creepily for hours at me. That's why she stood in front of the house and stared off into space. She would, take glimpses of me while I was at the window looking at her, just standing there. It was so freaking creepy. So yeah, as I said, I found out she had a crush on me. A girlfriend or a female friend of her told my girlfriend, and of course my girlfriend back at the time was outrageous. She wanted to punch the bitch in the face, basically. But as I said, I was just afraid of the girl. I could have never dated a girl like that. If I imagine having sex with a girl that would stare at me the whole time like that, it would be like I would give up my soul while having sex. Oh my freaking god. I'm still afraid of my soul. And I bet if I turn around now, she will be standing behind me and stare at me. And now I gotta cry. Oh my god. And that was it for this week's episode of Storytime. I'm really afraid to turn around now. That was stupid. A stupid thing to say. I will probably die, so this is my last video. Yeah, it was good knowing you all. That was it. If you enjoyed it, please let me know with a comment and a like. And yeah, search for my dead body. That was it. I'm iLostLink, signing out.